Hey everybody, even though I think there's like, yeah, zero people watching, but just to record the video, get the brain dump out. I got some stuff come up and I just need to get these thoughts out here while I'm getting in my fasting phase where I'm entering full-blown ketosis, right? But I've got a really big issue with keto advocates, and so diet and nutrition advice is confusing and conflicting enough already, and so many people struggle with diet, and so when there is a myth that is a very it is a very clear scientific fact that it is a myth and it's not true. I think it's inexcusable, right? And just one of the worst grievances I have with that is keto. So, and so to get into it, right? The big myth is that ketosis is mainly dictated by carbohydrate restriction. That is 100% false. Okay. So you can eat nothing but eggs or nothing but meat and produce almost no ketones whatsoever. Okay. So, before I get into the science, I've done 3 phases of diet experiments, eating, again, nothing, 28 days eating nothing but eggs. And then I did a 28 days eating nothing but raw beef. And I did another phase where I was doing some fasting, but I did 63 days of just beef, different eating patterns there. But in all 3 of those phases, right, I never went into ketosis. Okay. And so it's, there's a lot of different reasons I'll get into, but here's kind of the science with it first, right? And why this is so false, provably, right? Is our bodies are always trying to be as efficient as possible when it comes to energy from macronutrients. And so hold on a second here. Apologies there. Got to cut this off. Let's close this out for now. Okay. Anyway, so yes, our bodies are always trying to be as efficient as possible when it comes to energy from macronutrients, and so the order, right, that it prefers to consume those macronutrients for energy is carbohydrates, proteins, and then fats. And carbohydrates can be are the most easily and efficiently processed and used. So when it comes to proteins, they're next. And some people may have already heard of like the thermic effect of protein, and that's because the body does not store protein for energy, and it's carbohydrates for our immediate energy use, fats for long-term energy use. And so protein, we do store some amino acids, and some would argue that our muscles are our protein storage, but it's not its intended reason to store proteins for energy. But when you're eating sufficient proteins, there is a process called gluconeogenesis, and that is the conversion of proteins into glucose, right? So, and I believe actually with ketosis, the process, ketosis is in the state, right, of having, elevated ketones, and that comes from, I believe it's called like ketogenesis. I believe is what it's called. I have to look that term up again. It's ketogenesis, I believe, could be, ketoneogenesis. But the fact that there's an actual process just like gluconeogenesis that converts the fats into ketones. And the really cool thing about both of these processes is we tend to underestimate our bodies a lot. And when the body's converting proteins, or fats, or really anything else into our body, whether it be for converting different vitamins and minerals or converting anything for energy, it's literally ripping apart molecules. It's freaking awesome. So like with fats, for example, when the body creates fat from excess glucose, right, it's attaching another carbon atom to it. And so that's how it actually converts that. And that takes energy, right? Ripping apart and rearranging molecules takes energy. And but the point here is, though, right, not getting beyond that cool science of it, is that since the body prefers, proteins, it can easily convert proteins into glucose with gluconeogenesis. It means that if you eat a sufficient quantity of proteins, you will be nowhere near ketosis, right? Because your body can create as much glucose as it needs, and that's it, right? And so there are benefits, don't get me wrong, in just restricting carbohydrates, because a lot of different things that affect our diet. Because if you restrict carbohydrates, that makes you more conscious of label reading, that makes you more conscious of what you're eating, where you're eating, preparing to eat, all that kind of stuff. And no matter what diet you're on, all those things are going to help you succeed. There are also a lot of other benefits to restricting carbohydrates for blood sugar control, right? So, but here's the disservice, of perpetuating that myth that, like, being in ketosis or the ketogenic diet is something special when it comes to particularly controlling blood sugar. Is It's not true. Is You get the same exact benefits of for insulin and for blood sugar control, both from your fasting glucose and A1C. If you're on a high protein diet and sufficient calories, compared to a being in ketosis, right? There's zero benefit there compared between the two. So, like, again, the big disservice here is that if someone has problems adhering to a ketogenic diet, which, by the way, is harder to do. It's a lot, it's more restrictive than just saying, hey, don't eat carbs. Because when it comes to, ketosis, it's like, hey, don't eat carbs and watch your proteins. So it's harder. And, like, if someone's doing a ketogenic diet because you're, oh, hey, a ketogenic diet is great for controlling blood sugar, like, it's just going to make that diet harder for them when they could just watch their carbs, right? Don't worry about the rest. I mean, there's a lot of other factors on why and how, like, restricting carbohydrates has other benefits. But again, there's nothing special to it. There's no magic, to it in keto. And, the whole thought that just by restricting carbohydrates as much is going to cause something magical, and ketosis is something magical, or there's all these other advantages to, again, just watching your diet, just by not eating refined sugars, just by being more conscious about what you're eating. It's absolutely false. And the one thing that we really need to do, or, well, I don't know, I try, but what, health professionals, whether it be doctors, nutritionists, dietitians, physical trainers, whoever is giving someone, diet advice, is to make it as easy as possible for people to succeed, right? Because above all else, the main thing that is going to improve someone's health is their ability to adhere to whatever diet that they're on, right? That's the real important part. And that's why this is so much of a disservice, because if they're branding this as, as something magical for, again, either blood sugar control or weight loss or anything else, it's not. Stop. Why make it harder? As confusing as it is. And there are a ton of issues with doing research and proving things in diet and nutrition sciences. It's really hard to control all the variables. And, there's a lot of times where, scientists and researchers flat out, they just ignore it. Like, they don't care. But this is something that is absolute fact, right? Like, I have never heard of any health condition whatsoever where a body can't or won't, instantiate gluconeogenesis when you're consuming proteins, right? There's no case I've ever heard about that. So, let's keep on facts when we can. Again, it's hard, understanding diet is, and nutrition sciences are hard enough already. It's hard enough, it's hard enough to prove already. So anyway, now I'm starting to ramble, going to cut off here, but that's the big thing. It's one of those grind my gears type thing, right? There's no need. So if you are interested, as a final note, right, just to cover this, if you are interested in doing a diet like keto or any other diet to help, to help improve your insulin sensitivity, to help, improve your fasting glucose levels, right, then you absolutely, restrict carbs, right? but don't worry about the carbs. Don't worry about, doing something keto, doing a ketogenic or doing any fancy diet. Just restrict your carbohydrates, and more importantly, right, avoid those refined sugars, avoid, overeating, and make sure to eat plenty of nutritious foods, right? So do that as much as possible. It's a lot less restrictive if possible. And the one benefit that keto has in this regard is at least it's some specific diet, some diet advice. But the problem with that too is, when the people advocating the diet are not addressing this fact, not addressing the science, um, in pretty much every single case that I've seen it promoted, it means that they're ignoring a lot of other important factors for health and diet. So, and especially in today's world where we have just the a huge propensity to and trends to ignore more and more facts, and as the disinformation age continues and social bubbles continue, it's just, to me, again, it's inexcusable to see that from doctors and other health professionals that are trying to help people who are already struggling. So yeah, that's the big myth. That's the big beef. And I've got a lot of stuff to do later today. Hopefully I'll make some more updates to the diet. Everything's going well. If you didn't watch the other videos, again, right now down, 11 pounds. Blood sugar is exactly as expected, and feeling great since I did have a little bit of sugar today for all my upcoming stuff I got to do today. But anyway, thanks for the 3 people that tuned in. And if you're watching this later, I hope you enjoy.